Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let That Sink In. My name is Tiffany Smith, and I am the Marketing and Communications Director here at PM and Associates. And I am joined by my co-host, Todd Morgan. How are you, Todd?
Wonderful. How are you?
I am doing great, and we are on episode 10. I cannot believe that,
nice.
Todd. Episode 10. And we are welcoming Pfister today. We are welcoming Shannon Irby with Pfister, who is the National Builder Manager of New Construction. Shannon joined Pfister Faucets in May of 2017 as a part of the multifamily team covering developer relationships across the Southeast. Since then, she has grown with the company and taken over the role of the National Account Manager for multifamily and single-family production building. Shannon manages a sales team and works with the supply, finance, and marketing teams to align with her vertical needs. Prior to joining Pfister, she worked for Ferguson in the showroom segment for 12 years in the Virginia and South Florida markets, and she resides in West Palm Beach, Florida with her husband and 2 children. Welcome, Shannon.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful.
West Palm Beach sounds nice.
Yes.
Yeah. It's winter
I did
time
emphasis on West Palm Beach. Wow.
Yeah.
Wish we were there.
We're nice and toasty down here. I think the highs are going to be in the 80s today. So
nice.
So we need to start doing podcasts on location. That's what we
I think so.
learned from this conversation. Yeah.
Beachside plumbing podcast.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
That
sounds fantastic. Yes. So Shannon, talk to me a little bit about how you joined Pfister and your history there.
Yeah. So as you kind of mentioned earlier in the biography, I started my career with Ferguson, growing up in Virginia, and Ferguson being headquartered in that Virginia market. There was heavy recruiting coming out of college. So I had kind of joined in with the plumbing industry. Surprise. I don't know that anybody goes through their college time and feels like, hey, I'm going to get out of college and sell toilets. But
I understand.
That was kind of where I ended up.
We can all relate.
We can all relate to that. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
No, but, it was.
But it's great. It's such a fantastic
goal.
industry. I know. We love it.
But I kind of fell in love with the design aspect. I ended up, going through their showroom track and was part of their management training program that I'm sure lots of people are familiar with. Ended up down in Florida and kind of continued on that design track through showroom. And I had met up with, lots of industry contacts and that sort of thing. And when I found out that a position was going to be available working with Pfister in multifamily as opposed to showroom, it was really attractive. And I kind of got a great opportunity to kind of get into that role, and was working with people that I had worked with back in Virginia with Ferguson. So
that's great.
In the distant history. So it was kind of full circle to kind of join in with a really amazing group of people and get to kind of diversify what I had been doing with Pfister. So
that's great.
That is. You got a lot of titles.
Yeah.
You got a great history.
Yes. And actually, it's funny you say that. So my work with, when I first joined Pfister, I knew plumbing and I knew design type stuff, but I had no idea about the size of the multifamily industry as opposed to, custom home. It was a totally different segment for me. So I started just in the Southeast, and as I stayed with the company, that grew, the opportunity grew and grew and grew. And so I started with Southeast, and I said, I'm not going anywhere cold.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yes.
That didn't work out well.
Okay.
I just kept
was gonna say, did that work?
Right.
Yeah.
Until I finally, took over national coverage for multifamily. And then we kind of saw the need of, hey, we need a trade group that's involved in high volume, both multifamily and single family. So so a lot of titles have evolved over the years, taking on things that I, in the past, I'm not going to do that. I'm not gonna do that.
Well, it just sounds like you have a great, broad idea. You've been in almost every segment of Pfister, it sounds like, so that's good. That's great experience for you. I want to talk a little bit about the history of Pfister. When Pfister came into the market, they were Price Pfister back in the day. And I kind of want to talk about where Pfister is today versus the Price Pfister of yesterday. When Price Pfister came into the market, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'll let you tell the story here, Shannon, but I mean, when Price Pfister entered the market, they basically were one of the very first into the retail segment, like the old HQ supplies when this box store concept was relatively new. Pfister, I believe, Price Pfister was one of the first ones in that space. And of course, for the plumbing trade at the time, that was a bit of a shocker. But really, in a way, you guys were actually ahead of your time, because if you look at the box store today, who's in there? Every brand that you see at a plumbing wholesale branch, right, or in a showroom, is now populating the aisles at the home stores. So the way I see it is Price Pfister was actually a bit ahead of their time in that concept of getting into the retail space. Now everybody has followed that. So what has Pfister of today done to try to change the stigma, if you will, that some of the wholesalers and contractors still hold on to today? I mean, this goes back so long ago, Shannon, but it's amazing. The memories are long. So curious what you guys are doing to kind of change that narrative.
Yes, no, you're right. And memories are long and things are passed on from generation to generation. So I think it's like, hey, I have to kind of go back, because when you first kind of get involved with Pfister and you start getting out into the markets and talking to different people, you see that there's a lot of misconception or just created history of what people think Pfister is or was or that sort of thing. And, you know, probably some of that is just a lack of information available just to the public, or a lack of us speaking out on, hey, here's who we were and where we came from. So I think a lot of people don't realize that Pfister is a really old company. It was started in 1910. So, you know, we're over 110 years old. And the original creators of Pfister were Emil Price and William Pfister. So the name Price Pfister has actually nothing to do with Price. It's actually the last names of the two original founders. And so that's where it originally started. And what they did is they were in California. And it was they were trying to get water out to their crops. And so as opposed to like carrying a bucket or a watering can or something, they created basically the modern hose bib. And that's actually where Pfister came from. So it was called the garden faucet. And so these two guys had the garden faucet, and that brought out, and it's a hose bib, and it was like allowing them to water crops. And the whole company sort of evolved from there. So after that, kind of another significant point in history was they created the Make a Shower, which if you go look it up, it brought showering inside. So prior to that, everyone was like taking a bath.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Right? You think like, hey, you don't even consider the fact that everyone was taking a bath. You know, they kind of, if you look it up, it looks like one of those old-fashioned shower poles that you're used to with a head and arms on it. And so that was kind of the original time where Pfister evolved from this hose bib gardening company into a faucet manufacturer.
It kind of came indoors at that point, came into the bathroom space.
They came indoors, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we've created a bathroom company. So that's kind of the evolution. And if you follow that history all the way through, you see like lots of evolution of Pfister into a design space. There was the crown jewel and all these really interesting 50s, 60s, 70s faucets that, you know, had acrylics, or not acrylics, I guess it was crystal handles, and crazy mauves and pinks and blues and greens and all that stuff.
That sounds awesome. We need to bring those back.
With the avocado.
I am all for that. Yes.
Avocado appliances.
I was like, I'll have to give you some photos, some of these old photos, and you guys can kind of post some show notes.
Absolutely.
Love to see those.
Yes.
On the crown jewels. Because it will probably bring some people back.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So when you were talking about getting into the retail space, so like that's where some things got really interesting with Pfister. You know, it's California-based company. They have a foundry in California. Actually, it was one of few foundries around the country. So one of the other things that they did was during the war times, the foundry actually was making grenades. They pivoted and made grenades for the war. So you know, there weren't a lot of foundries around the country. And so the ones that were available, they needed help making products. So they had actually done that. And, you know, you kind of look at, hey, this is a California-based company. And there was a lot of segmentation at the time. So you think like, you've got Moen up in Ohio area, and your Delta is in Indiana, and Pfister's all the way out in Southern California. So when we ended up going into the retail space, it was kind of an interesting decision by the head of the company. And I think there were parts of it, right, that have brought where we are today, where people say, hey, that's a retail company and all that, some perception things about it. So there's probably, you could make a list of pros and cons of what was good or bad about the situation, but it was kind of an interesting decision because it actually turned Pfister into a national company.
Right.
Sure. Right.
Yep. Right. So that's your revolutionary portion of it is that, I mean, to your point, like the home center wasn't as big of a thing at that time.
Right.
But it evolved into one, and nowadays it's big. But it also brought Pfister across the country. And without that, I don't know that would have happened. So it's despite the fact that maybe it, didn't give us the best perception, it did evolve us as a company.
Yeah. And that perception only really lived in the wholesale side. I mean, you guys made a great name in that retail side. And I think that we work every day to change that perception. And I think most of your Pfister reps do as well, because the story is a good one. I think it's a great story. Plus, you don't stick around for 110 years as a company without putting out good quality product, backing that product up with good service. And that's the side of Pfister that we've had a lot of fun representing the company and telling that story. I'm not ashamed of the story. I like the story. I think it's a fun one to tell, quite honestly. And again, I kind of bring it back to, hey, look at everything today. These guys were actually quite ahead of their time and made a bold move early on when the concept was new. And as you mentioned, it gave you guys a national name brand recognition, which ultimately is not a bad thing. But we've sure been impressed with the quality and the service of the product. So
yes, I was like, there's a lot of people. It's an interesting story, I think. And I think it gets simplified into, I hear a lot of things like, oh, they're owned by Home Depot, or they're owned by this company or this. And in reality, it's just, hey, we're not. We're Pfister, Price Pfister. We're still the same company we were a long time ago. And our history is kind of interesting. It's different. And I like to tell the story so that people kind of understand who we are as a company. And I think to your point, we have a lot of really wonderful people that work for the company and kind of make up what it was, but what it is today.
Sure. And speaking to that, I mean, look, to talk about, Pfister Faucets today, and obviously we've established the fact that we belong right there in the wholesale market, right along with the other competition, the other name brands that you're familiar with, that you also see at the home centers. So we are not only retail, we are a wholesale plumbing line. We are a wholesale faucet line, and a complete line at that. So, which also makes us great for multifamily, correct? I mean, we can tie together the kitchen, we can complete a bathroom suite. And, one of the advantages I have found in the time we've represented Pfister, not only for the multifamily segment, but also for the homeowner, for the single family homeowner, is the fact that your trims still fit these valves that have been in the wall for 15 plus years. I just had a project, they 15 years old, and they ordered all new trims for the valves. The building owner was shocked. He thought he was going to be ripping the walls out, having to put all new valves in and things like that to make this update, right? Because his bathrooms had become dated, wanted to update the trims, and we were able to do that for him. He was thrilled. The building owner was thrilled and also shocked. And I also went out to another homeowner's about 18-year valve in the wall. They had the same idea. They figured they were going to be replacing the entire valve. They had an older gold and they wanted to update. And we went out, we took a look at it, and we determined that we could just pick out some new trims, and they were just thrilled to death. So to me, that's a huge advantage. Also, coming back to the quality piece, right? These are 15-year-old, multifamily or hotel. In this case, I believe it was a hotel. The valves that we just did, the trims, hey, those are 15-year-old valves that are still in the wall, that are still working today. And so I hear stories like this, and I think in the multifamily and the single family homeowner, one of the advantages is to have Pfister in the wall, You can make those changes and those updates, but you also have a great quality product in the wall. So, aside from this, what has also made Pfister successful in the multifamily segment per se?
Yeah. So let me go back and address some of that really quick. I mean, I think there's some perception too that when we went to retail, that we became a retail company. And to your point, like we never actually became a retail company or a retail manufacturer. We've always diversified. So we've had, both segments of business. We've always had a retail segment that produces product into retail, and a wholesale company and segmentation that releases product into the wholesale portion of things. And, those products are built based on the needs of the consumer and the needs of the end user and those sort of things. So when you talk about the valving, I think that's really important. We've always had our own design. We have an entire industrial design team out in California. We have all of our 3D printing materials. We have a design laboratory. We have a testing facility. All these things out there where we're creating product. And so one of the things that allows us to do is create consistency in our product. So when you talk about the valving, basically the cartridge that we use now, I think we're on the 5th or 6th version of that cartridge at this point. And you have to go pretty far back, over 20 years back now, to get to the previous version. So
that's incredible.
Wow.
Been quite a while. And the nice thing is we've been able to keep consistency. So when you go out to that hotel project you're talking about and you say, hey, the brass is still in the wall, the brass is still good. We have a cartridge that we could use if we want, but you could actually pull that cartridge out and pop in the brand newest, most latest one that we just launched, that has the highest flow rate and the best torque and all the best improvements, pop that into the existing brass in the wall, and then use any one of the trims in our entire line, from the least expensive entry-level trim all the way up to the fanciest brush.
I love that.
That's great. That's fantastic.
So,
yeah.
I love that.
So having that has given us the ability to keep consistency within our product and offer that to our consumer.
And speaking to the multifamily, I've represented other faucet companies, and we've had some wins in the multifamily segment. And in the past, with certain manufacturers, the parts side of it has been a nightmare. So you get this project, you get the stuff in the wall, and next thing you know, you're living with the maintenance guy who's not happy because you're taking forever to get parts. They've got rooms down. That has not been the case with Pfister. And I want to drive that home to anybody that's watching, let that sink in, and watching this, who is project-based in any way. Pfister is a great product for that multifamily space. And I've been so impressed with not only the quality of it, but also the looks as well. So just anybody who's in the multifamily segment, you really need to keep Pfister in mind.
Yeah,
totally. I was like, parts is always like everyone's stress point. Everyone's like, oh my God, I need parts. Like,
parts.
how am I going to get parts? Yeah, you're right. And I think like some of it may come from, breadth or depth of distribution. And so sometimes there's some like fear points for people, right? Because parts is just such a stressful portion of replacement and that sort of thing. So I think that's great. I think it's a good message. We do have widespread distribution. Our customer service team is amazing, and they do a great job. Our warranty is really robust on things. So it's not I feel like it's not a stressful experience. And that's more what I convey to people when I'm talking to them about parts. I say, hey, Pfister's not going to create a stressful environment for you. So if you're calling into our customer service team and you need a replacement part, or even a new faucet, or a new segment of whatever you're doing, like the team's going to support you and help you. And I think a lot of the reviews you see about us is for people who've actually gone through the experience, see that, hey, it's actually really simple and easy and low stress. And that's from both our customer service department in-house, but also like just our sales team in general. we've always been really responsive. I laugh. I'm actually, I'm a national sales manager and I've got this team and whatever. And I have maintenance people from individual properties that will email me like, hey, I need 7 spray heads. Can you get that for me? And I do that for them. So I was like, my group is just
great.
like lovers of supporting our customers and providing, and it's just a very low stress thing. So I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I was like, I feel like the stress level with parts that always is a catalyst, like it's just a trigger for people.
Sure.
And I want to convey them, hey, we're going to make this low stress, I promise. You don't have to
ease of doing business. I always bring it back to ease of doing business. And those are always my favorite companies to represent and to work with. And even as a consumer, of course, to purchase from as well, right? Somebody who makes the experience easy and then takes that stress out. And like I said, speaking from experience, and not being able to get those parts, or having the manufacturer be really tough to get that part from.
Yeah.
Maybe they have it, but they're just playing hardball with it. Not been the experience with Pfister. So again, anybody who's in that multifamily segment, do keep Pfister in mind, because you might only be looking for that 1 year, right? A lot of contractors, they got to get that year, get past that year. And then of course the warranties then fall to the business owner and the homeowner, or the person renting that space. If you own the building, you own the business, and you've got Pfister in the wall, you're going to have the support that you need, and you can knock that stress one off your list and move on to something else that's stressing you, because they have just been so wonderful to work with, especially as it pertains to parts. And I haven't needed a lot of parts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
There's another thing. We don't want to.
And on that note, I haven't needed a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a testament to Pfister.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And multifamily is a big segment for us. I mean, you were kind of alluding to it earlier. We kind of pivoted into that space back post 2008 housing declines. And, there was a lot of, and you guys probably remember back to this, there was a lot of dynamics with the changing of single family builder with, larger companies were buying up smaller companies. And so the dynamics were very quickly changing with the single family industry. And there was such a huge need, a massive need for housing then, and still, I mean, you can, everybody reads articles now, but you see the huge, massive need for housing.
Yeah.
And so we kind of pivoted into that space, and we actually found a really nice niche and nice home for Pfister there. We do a really good job of offering a product that fits the space, offering a price point that is what people are looking for, delivering the design intent of what, plumbers and developers and everybody's designers are looking for. And then executing on it with our supply chain programs. So it's kind of evolved over time, but that's been a really good space for Pfister. And if you're kind of in the multifamily industry and you haven't worked with us, I think we're a great company to call. I think we're someone who would be a great resource in that space.
Totally agree. Yeah. We shine in that space.
Yes. Very, very shine. And then, we've kind of shined always, but this is like a good way to think of Pfister is we're offering great design in various segments of the market, at a price point that people can afford. So, we're kind of that, if you come out of home center and you go into wholesale where you're kind of living in the wholesale space, and maybe you can't afford the highest end products, but you really have a design intent you're looking for, that's a really good space where Pfister fits across channels. So whether it's multifamily or single family production or showroom, that our goal is to deliver a product that hits all that design expectation of what you want, that's cool and trendy, but we're going to give it to you a little better price point that's a little more affordable.
With great service.
With great service. And available parts. So it's the whole package.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit here. And, Shannon, being in marketing, one of the things that absolutely just shines about Pfister is your docuseries, American Plumber Stories. You really support the plumbing trade unlike any other company. And for those that don't know, I don't know how you don't know, but it's a series that introduces us to plumbers across the nation as they share how they got started in the trade and their passion for the profession. Can you talk to us a little bit about why this kind of education is so important?
So it's really interesting how this whole thing has evolved for us. And I think like one of the things that is one of the things we've just been sitting here talking about is that, Pfister hasn't done the best job, like I'm going to take accountability here, of marketing and talking about who we are and where we are in the space and just having a voice. And obviously when you don't have a voice, people fill that void with their own voice. Right. So
their own opinions and their own,
exactly.
assumptions. Yes.
It's natural. We all do that. And we do that, obviously not just in faucets, we do it across our lives, but, it was interesting when kind of we went into this COVID era and everybody, things slowed down for a minute, while everyone was kind of figuring out what the heck was going on.
Right.
We kind of all grounded ourselves and kind of came home and started having a lot of conversations about who we are as a brand and, talking to the public about ourselves. But then we started talking about, man, we have some amazing customers.
Yeah.
Amazing customers that have amazing stories and
that never get told.
that never get told, that no one
never
knows
get told
anything about. And I was like, these stories are fun, they're entertaining, they're inspirational. They speak to a positivity. And I think,
yes, they do.
Right. I was like, I think that's a key component. It's like I bet I'm not alone here, but I've almost like completely stopped watching the news because I was like, it feels sad to me. And so I was like, one of the things I love about this is that it brings positivity in a space that media hasn't had as much positivity as you might like.
Right.
So we kind of started the idea was, hey, we just want to tell these like cool, fun, inspirational stories. And how can we do that? And so that's where the series started to grow from. And then when we really got into the meat of it, we realized how massively important this was in saying like, hey, part of this is there's just, there's an aging population within the plumbing trade and with all trade professions. There's not as many young people coming into the trade. Yep. And it's just, we've kind of pushed kids into college, which isn't a bad thing, but it kind of has left this segment of youth that maybe doesn't realize that
what a great career this is.
That this is an option for them.
An option that lets them come out of school not saddled with debt and things like that as well.
Absolutely.
And immediate earning potential, right? Immediate earning potential.
Yeah. And just that, hey, maybe if I feel like it got to a point where it was like, hey, we got to go to college or we got to go to the military.
Right.
Both options
are your options.
But there's more, right?
There's so much
something
more
in the middle or something different. And if you
because that doesn't fit everyone. Those two options don't fit everyone. Yeah.
They don't.
It feels very like polarizing, like you have this or this, as opposed to saying, hey, there's all kinds of options. Like if you were looking at your life and saying like, I don't necessarily want a desk profession. I really like being outdoors, or I like working with my hands and doing that. And, a lot of this is uncovered. Shop classes have gone away. And, if we look at education systems and that sort of thing, it's just, in the evolution, like we've lost some of that.
Right.
So this kind
of shines a light on, like I said, what a great career it is. And also how important of a career that it is for everyone. I mean,
and then it won't ever go away, right? There's a need.
Right.
In this segment for forever. There's not going to be a point where people don't need running water.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Plumbing, electrical, all those types of trades. There's going to be a need for it, for laborers, and the trades are a wonderful option for young people. And not just young people. You can start a career in plumbing at any age, really. I mean, if you need to just make a wholesale change at age 40 or 45, you can get the education needed and join the trade. But I just think the American Plumber Story, not only I love the message. I think we need to continue to push that message and try to attract people into the trades. But for anybody who's not watched American Plumber Stories, this isn't I'm trying to use the correct word here. It's not half-assed done, if you will. It's quality. I mean, I was so impressed with, the drone footage, the aerial footage they're doing. This is a true.
I aspire as a marketer. Yes.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, watching it, this is something you would be seeing on Discovery or, things like that. It's that quality of a show because it is a show.
It absolutely is. Yes, you hired an amazing production company.
Oh, they were outstanding.
Yeah. Yes, they're amazing. They've done an incredible job. If people are not familiar, Spencer Brown is our director of sales for Pfister, and a lot of this was his vision and what this looked like. And so he's done a great job of working with this production company to execute a vision of what we wanted to show of these people. And this production company has just exceeded everyone's expectations.
Yeah, they definitely brought it to life. Absolutely.
Yeah, how amazing. And it's funny to watch, if you go back, we're on the 3rd season now. And if you go back to the 1st season and 2nd, you'll see like an evolution of how this has grown, and the vision and the cinematic quality of everything has kind of evolved with us on what we've conveyed. And, the idea was to, educate, inspire, entertain, and inspire, and we've kind of done those 3 things.
Absolutely. Yes.
And kind of convey that message, and the production has really helped with that.
And Shannon, where can everyone go to watch American Plumber Stories if they haven't seen it yet?
So the easiest way to find it is go to AmericanPlumberStories.com.
Perfect.
That's our website. So if you go there,
so easy.
It has all 3 seasons. The 3rd season, we just released the 5th episode 2 days ago, actually.
Nice.
So you
Great.
can go and check out the Misfits there. And it allows you can learn more about Pfister. You can, we actually have some shirts and hats and all kinds of merchandise that you can purchase from there if you want to kind of display that really cool logo we have.
Yeah, what are you displaying back there, Todd?
Yeah, I've got
the bucket.
Yep, the bucket. Yeah, but I love that logo.
The bucket. Oh, it's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is actually one of the coolest plumbing logos I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Yes.
Even we got some hats, and even my 10-year-old son was like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's cool. I know.
I wear my t-shirt all the time just because, like I said, I think that logo is just so cool, and being in the plumbing trade.
So if you can't tell, Shannon, we're like #1 fans of it. So yes.
It's a great way to represent, what you do and your trade in a subtle way that's
absolutely
not in your face, and it's supporting who you are and what you're proud of, and the hard work you put in. Everyone who's in that profession has put in a ton of hard work, and I feel like it represents like that culture and that feeling.
And for anybody in St. Louis, we're based out of St. Louis. Here I am, but there are St. Louis plumbers featured on American Plumber Stories. So I don't know exactly which season that was in, but if you're checking it out for the first time, look for the St. Louis plumbers. You might see somebody you know.
Yes, you might see him. I want to say he was 2, but watch me mess that up here.
That's all right. We won't quiz you. We're like, okay,
Shannon, go through all the episodes.
Season 1, episode 1, go.
Exactly. I was like, you'll see the arch, so that'll give it away.
Yeah,
perfect. There you go.
Do it. It was a great episode.
Yeah,
it was. Yes. And there's been some really, I'll say that there's been some where I've been really choked up and
oh, absolutely, because they have so much passion for their job and their career, which is just so incredible to see. So,
and you see the human side too,
absolutely,
which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to share this with everyone. We want to share it with young people, with older people. We actually just reached 6 million total views. So.
Oh,
nice.
Wow!
Congratulations! Yeah. We're shooting for that for this podcast.
Right. We're almost there. Almost.
We're a little way away. We're still working on it.
It's fine. Yeah. Well, hey, also, I recently worked with Matt Kroeger, who is in charge of all of our showrooms. And I worked with him on some social media posts. I got it. I need a little more coffee this morning, featuring the new Pfister showrooms. And the displays turned out absolutely beautiful.
Awesome.
So I would love for you to give us a quick overview of the product mix available from Pfister for kitchen and bath, if you can.
Yes. So we've had I think a lot of evolution over the last several years, kind of lending into this more contemporary vibe. And our new displays are gorgeous. If you haven't seen them, they have,
They're
kind
beautiful.
of a contemporary, clean, industrial, white, black.
They're awesome.
Vibe to
We have
them.
several posts featuring them on our LinkedIn, so everyone can go there and check out all the Pfister displays. They're absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, Matt and I built one a few weeks back, actually just before the holidays, and it was an 8-foot, and it is impressive. It was the lighting on it's outstanding, and the product looked beautiful.
Yes, great lighting on this one. So we've had a few generations, but this one looks really sharp. It's a mix of modern and traditional. We extended the finishes out beyond what you would normally find in multifamily offerings. So I'm really excited to see how the design community embraces this new collection. And it was inspired by like a steampunk.
That's so cool.
It's awesome.
So,
and is that on your website as well, that new collection?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we actually just added it to the website, and it will be featured at KBIS, and we'll have a video to go with it. So lots of exciting new things coming, both that just launched, and then we have some new things coming next year that will be a surprise.
That's awesome. Shannon, you mentioned KBIS a couple of times. Do you know off the top of your head what the date is for KBIS, just for anybody who's watching the podcast?
Yes, so we will be there at KBIS. IBS will be in the KBIS hall. The dates for the show are January 31st through February 2nd in Las Vegas. So if you need an excuse to go to Las Vegas.
Yeah, no kidding.
Always.
There's a good one.
Just saying.
That's right.
And our booth is N2919.
N2919. Okay.
And we'll be with our sister company, Quickset. So we actually share a booth with them, and it's a great way to kind of match up your hardware.
Great.
Great.
Awesome. Well, make sure you stop by and say hello to Shannon Irby if you are at KBIS this year in Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to meeting everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Shannon. This has been such a fantastic conversation, and we have loved having you on Let That Sink In.
Thank you so much.
This has been great.
It was an honor. I really appreciate you guys allowing us to kind of come and talk about our story and our company here. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. We love working with Pfister and really excited about our partnership in 2023.
Absolutely. Reach out to PM and Associates, your salesperson, or email us or give us a call if you'd like more information on Pfister and what we can do for you both for single family home and for multifamily as well. Absolutely. You can call us at 317-827-0419. And as always, you can contact us through our website at p-massoc.com. All right, guys, Perfect. Have a great day. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. Take care, Shannon.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.